Hello, everyone. So I'll give it a little bit for people to get on. Here's Window Jesus, for those of you who always ask for Window Jesus. Today I'm going to start by talking about my visits with Marni and Melissa. So I was going down to Springfield, which is our state capital here in Illinois, because I am part of, I'm an activist and I'm involved in politics. And so we have our state fair all this month. And so there's always one day that is designated to my political party. And then there's a whole bunch of events and all that kind of stuff. Where Marni and Melissa's prison is on the way to where I go in Springfield. And they're about 30 minutes apart. So if I'm going to go down to Springfield for politics stuff, I'm going to need to try and stop at the prison. So I went down there on Tuesday. I could put glasses on right now. I went down there on Tuesday. So I went early because I didn't have anything that I needed to be at, I think, until like 6. So I went down there to visit Marni until 4. And then I left there at 4 and went to my hotel, checked in, and then went on to the stuff. So Marni was my first visit. She's getting anxious for her case to progress. Her team literally had a meeting while I was down in Springfield, so I couldn't be a part of it, where they were discussing everything on filing for Marni next month. So Marni couldn't wait. You know, she's happy to be hearing something and that something's moving. And she's really hoping that whatever date gets decided on this time sticks, because she says it's hard doing the countdown and you think this is going to be it, and now it's another 6 weeks. And she's like, what's another 6 weeks? I've been here 10 years. But then, you know, she really wants out of there. So for those of you that do not know the Marni Yang case, all right, there is a website for Marni. Website for Marni. Hi, Nicola and Elizabeth and Peggy. Oops, why aren't you letting me paste? There we go. So that's the Marni website. See you later, Carrie. So Marni's case is a famous one. It has more notoriety here in Illinois, but I'm sure people all around the world heard of this case because it involves Sean Gale, who was a Chicago Bear during our historical 1985 season when the Bears won the Super Bowl in January of 86. And so that's, you know, we had, the refrigerator, Fridge Perry that everybody, and our coach at that time was Mike Ditka. They did skits about it on Saturday Night Live. They had the video of the Super Bowl shuffle, all that. So Sean Gale here is well known. He's a guy that doesn't want to be married, doesn't want a committed relationship. He had like 17 or 18 girlfriends at one time. And I don't even know if you call them girlfriends. They're basically just companions. that he mostly just wanted to have sex with them. But sometimes they would go on a vacation or to a restaurant or whatever, but the girls were on their own dime, so it's not like he was a sugar daddy taking care of these women. I really don't know what was in it for the women. I've talked to Marni about it, and because Marni is so very intelligent, extremely intelligent, and work. She had multiple jobs. She's a go-getter. She's not going to just sit back and have somebody have to take care of her. She's and she's got 3 children that she was taking care of. And she said, it's just the typical stuff, poor self-esteem. But also she and Sean were business partners doing real estate deals together. And he would she would try and dump him and just have a business only relationship with him, and he would sucker her back in. So Marni was one of Sean Gale's many girls. He had one woman named Ronnie Ryder, who was 7 or 8 months pregnant, and somebody shot her to death one weekday early morning in her apartment in Deerfield, Illinois. And after 2 years after this crime, they then set up Marni to be the wrongfully accused in this case. Everything that is out there that you find on Marni's case shows that she's guilty. And if that's all I knew on the case, I'd be completely on board that chick is guilty. I mean, her confession alone, when it was a friend that was wiretapped or had the secret wire on him. And Marni is outright saying she did these things. You need to know there's more to that tape than's been released. I can't get into it. I can't tell you any of the stuff because it needs to be filed first. And then once it's filed, it'll be all out there. And then we can go over everything step by step, why you think Marni is guilty. And now here's what we have to counter that. So Marni's been in prison for 10 years. And so I went to visit her, and she told me there's a lot of not cool things happening in the prison. And I know people will say it's prison. You're not on a vacation. But as Marni said, and we talked about, I mentioned it yesterday, that she's in some counseling group at the prison called Phoenix Rising. And the counselor said, your exile is your punishment. And they're right. Why do you have to constantly try and make these people miserable? Guilty or not? You're taking them away from everything. That's their punishment. You barely supply them with anything. They're buying everything for themselves. So it's not like, oh, they're getting this, free room and board on the taxpayer's dime. No, they're not. They're paying for everything themselves. And so Marni has told me of an incident there. So Marni is in a 4-person cell. Melissa's in a 2-person cell. So Marni's, and you call it, it's not even a cell. It's like a house, because it's like a campus there. So Marni's is 2 sets of bunk beds. 3 out of the 4 women get along just fine. There's one woman in there that actually is designated with having some kind of a mental illness that's in their room. And this woman just likes to stir the pot and try and get them all agitated and get into, arguments or fights or whatnot. So she'll do things like the other 3 girls want the door shut. She's going to open it. A thing this woman did 3 weeks ago is there is a Dateline episode on Marni's case, and it re-aired on NBC 3 weeks ago. Kent, actually, another inmate I advocate for, Kent Pellegrini, he told me he watched it in his prison, so he saw it, so he watched it. That Dateline episode really pushes for that Marni is guilty. And so what this woman did was, okay, because the inmates all have their own TVs and such, she wanted the door to their room wide open, so Marni is on display while she is watching the Dateline episode, saying Marni is guilty. She was inviting other inmates to come in the room to watch with her, and they all made fun of Marni while they watched it. Marni said she just sat up in her bunk and did a crossword puzzle and did her best to ignore it. And I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's intimidation. That's bullying. You're creating a hostile environment. What the hell? Marni and the other 2 women have found another house that there's a woman in that house that would be willing to switch. Now, the woman that's causing all the problem in Marni's cell, she wants out. She doesn't want to be in that cell. The woman in the other cell is happy to move into Marni's cell. The people in that woman's cell are fine to have the crazy lady come into theirs, and the prison won't make the switch. And it's not because the prison doesn't do these switches. They're doing plenty of other switches, rotating cells for people. For some reason, they're not doing this one. Marni's attorney has contacted the warden, trying to get this, because, this situation is just going to keep building, because she's not just doing stuff to Marni. She's doing it to all 3 women in that cell. She just rotates which woman she's going to target and try and start trouble with. So that is absolutely ridiculous that is happening. Then there are things like the prison has decided to crack down on things. And so like anytime they have artwork or pictures up on the walls that they've had there forever, they've now ripped down, because one of the rules is nothing can be hanging on the walls anywhere. So all these different houses that these women are living in, there's only so many phones and so many washers and all that stuff. So the inmates themselves make schedules to try and keep the peace. This house, this side gets this at this time, blah, blah, blah. They ripped all those signs down. That's just a schedule to keep the peace. What else? Melissa, because I talked to Melissa about this too on my visit with her, she's telling me it tends to be the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the people that act the worst, the officers just continue to let them get away with it. And then the people who behave are the ones that the officers target and mess with. So there, and that's just a little bit of the things that are going on there. And so in our governor's race, I supported a candidate early on, J.B. Pritzker, and his lieutenant governor candidate at that time was Juliana Stratton. I worked hard on their campaign. They were elected. And then Juliana's number one thing that she wants to work on is criminal justice reform. And she says not just criminal justice reform, she wants to focus on female inmates. And then not just female inmates, she's like laser focused on Logan Correctional, where Marni and Melissa are. So now when I go to this event in Springfield, I also had tickets to a state representative gave me a free ticket to the governor's picnic that was at the state fairgrounds. And so I made sure I wanted to find either the governor's wife, MK, or Juliana, because both of them have said criminal justice reform is their number one, and Logan, and they've visited Logan a couple times to go look at things. And so I saw Juliana and I went up and talked to her. And I'm not trying to be this ginormous name dropper, but you know, like I said, I worked on the campaign from early on. So she knows who I am. She knows my name. She recognizes me, you know, when we hug or whatever. And I said, hey, I've got 2 inmates I advocate for at Logan Correctional. And there's some stuff going on there that's not right. And there's some changes that need to be done. And I would love to talk to you about it. And then I said, I know this is not the appropriate place to discuss this. I would love to schedule a sit down with you so we could go over what is going on in Logan. And she said, absolutely. She wants to know all about it. And then she pointed me to one of her people and she said, go talk to her in the pink dress and get her card and reach out to her to get something scheduled. So I haven't done that yet, but I absolutely will be sitting down with Juliana Stratton. I want to have Tammy from WMP Justice Review attend as well, because Tammy, being a big, huge advocate and so smart, that she would be a great asset to be there to talk to Juliana. So, you know, I'm not just fighting there for Marni and Melissa. It's wrong what's happening to all the women in that prison. And Marni told me the lifers there, all the lifers said they have never done time this hard before. And again, I know there's going to be people there going, prison's supposed to be hard, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be like that, because all you're doing is stirring a pot and getting these people angry. And then what's going to happen in there? Are, you know, is there going to be fighting? And then what's going to happen when those people get out? So that's something I really want to focus on. In my activism, I've got a couple issues that I focus on, and criminal justice reform is one of my biggies. I'm actually now part of a women's legislative group that will be women in Illinois pushing for the right legislation to get passed here. So we're organizing a meeting for that in September before our state reps and senators go back to work in October, so that when it gets back in session, you know, we know what to be hitting them with. So Marni, on her website here, when you're in the top bar, there's home, and then the next thing says CI group. You would click on CI group, which I'm going to post a link now. And sorry for everybody, I'm not reading any of your comments or questions right now, because I'm just going over the things I want to say first, and then I'll go over your stuff. So you go into the CI group. So CI, it's the Citizens Investigators. You need to pay $10 to join. And then once you pay that $10, you go to the CI Investigators on Facebook. Oops. Okay, wait. I got to put WMP first. WMP CI. Why is my computer being stupid? Hold on. It's not bringing it up now. It just brought me into Justice Review. Hold, please. Oh God, what are you guys sending me? That's for the YouTube channel. Here it is. You can only get approved to be in this CI group after you've paid the $10. That $10 goes towards these team of experts that work on Marni's case, and we'll be working on other cases that Tammy picks for the team to work on. Right now, there's 115 people, because I'm an admin on this page or the group. There's 115 people that want in, but you can't get in until you go to the Marni Yang website first and pay that $10. So, and then what Tammy's been doing is she's posting inside information on Marni's case in this group. And so we want you to look at this stuff and come up with, what things do you think about this case that would help Marni, or what do you see that says guilt? Let us hash it out, both sides. So, but the important thing to know is you have to pay that $10 first. And people will say that the Stephen Avery people will say that, see, there I am trying to get money. No, I'm not. That money comes nowhere near me. It has nothing to do with me. So I don't profit off of it. It doesn't come in my hands. It's nothing. That's all WMP. So she's been putting, there's crime scene photos in there. There's 911 calls, police reports. And Marni also, every Sunday, there is a post from Marni there that she's writing every week. And something she wanted me to ask for you all to do, or here, I'll do it right now. In the CI group, well, no, I'm not going to do it right now. I'll wait. She wants your questions. Can't be about the case, though, you know, but I'm sure you guys all understand that. So, you know, and she'll take topics that you send her, and that's what she'll make in her Sunday thing. So do you want to know about what's it like to be in prison? What's her daily schedule like? What's the food like? She's a teacher there. She's teaching math and English. So if you are a teacher and want to talk about teaching methods or anything like that, she loves scuba diving. Loves scuba diving. She's got friends from her scuba club that continue to send her stuff and magazines and stuff on scuba. But if there's anybody who out there who's a scuba diver, and you know, she's been locked up for 10 years, what is new in the scuba world? The new technology. You can ask her about where she's dived. She really likes going to shipwrecks. So you can ask her, you know, about those kinds of things. But you can't ask questions on the case because obviously we haven't filed yet. She used to not want anybody to write to her. She is fine if anybody wants to write her now. She will write you back. She's just an admitted loner, that she's happy in her own skin and doesn't need to be surrounded by fans and or anything like that. She finds that all weird, you know, because she gets letters from strange people. She gets marriage proposals. I don't know if Droopy Nipples or whatever his nickname is, Magnet Guy, he's one of the people that have sent her a marriage proposal. But so she does want to hear from you and wants you to help with her weekly letters to her fans. So you can post in the WMP Citizen Investigator group questions you have that you'd like Marni to answer. We will at some time also do a live phone call with Marni, you know, so you'll be able to talk to her right there. People from her team are going to be in there. So, you know, talking about what they know. So, but once her filing happens in the next month, knock on wood, then we can open up and really get into the meat of the case. So it was a good visit with Marni. She told me, so the last time I visited both Melissa and Marni, but when I was on the same day. But I visited, when I was visiting Marni, the people that were visiting at the table over from us, all of a sudden the officers came, ended the visit. The mother was escorted out by officers. The inmate was handcuffed and taken out of there and taken to segregation. Well, it turns out the mother was trying to smuggle in contacts for her daughter. You are not allowed to have contact lenses in this prison. Don't know why. Marni says, if they had contact solution in the commissary, they'd make a mint off of it. But guessing it's because they're afraid people won't properly take care of it or whatever, and then people are going to screw up their eyes, and that be more of a cost medically. Don't know. So what this does is Marni said that woman, the inmate, is a long timer, that she's got like 20 years to go. This means her mother can never visit her daughter again. The mother can never call her daughter. But the mother may end up in prison with her because she will be prosecuted for it. And I found that incredibly sad. I know rules are rules, but all for contact lenses. You are ripping this mother and daughter apart. That bothers me. I don't like it. They're still human beings, right? Ugh, I don't like it at one bit. So I visited Melissa the next day because I had an event in the morning and the afternoon. And the way the girls' prison works is they do count from 2 to 4. So visitors are not allowed in or out of the prison between that time. So if you're not in on your visit prior to 2, you cannot get in at 4. If you are in on a visit and don't leave when they say last line to the gate at 2 o'clock, you have to stay till 4, at least 4, because it also depends on when the officers feel like walking you back. So there's been times they didn't let me back out until like 4:45. So I didn't get enough stuff done. I didn't get my stuff done in time that I'd be able to get to the prison by 2. So now I couldn't get there till 4. So I got there at 4, and then I thought visiting hours were only till 7, but it's until 8. So that's when I was going to go live when I got home. And then I had visited with Melissa till 8, and after processing and everything, I didn't get on the road to go home until like 8:20, and it's a 2.5-hour drive for me. And I'm like, I'm not going live when I get home. I don't feel like it. So that's why that live got canceled. So Melissa isn't sure what's going on with her case right now. That all she knows is there was another extension. She doesn't know if there's a deadline on anything or anything like that. She hasn't heard from Kathleen Zellner because Melissa is represented by Kathleen Zellner. So she's unsure what's going on. So like Marni, she's trying to stay positive. She says there's days she gets short-tempered with people. And Melissa is just so above the drama and wants no part of the high school drama in the prison. So she just tries to do her work. She did sign up to be on the softball team. She's not, it's not something like she was regularly playing softball or something like that when she was home, but something to do. So she has signed up for softball. She thinks they're going to have her be catcher. And I was like, ooh, that's an intense position when, you're not a diehard softball player, she's looking forward to softball. And when softball season is done, the prison does a 5K. And so she's going to do that as well. I asked her if she's running it or walking it, and she said both. So she likes to be kept busy and wants to stay in shape, and does the best that she can with her eating. Like, she doesn't eat from chow hall. She only eats what she buys in commissary for the most part. So she is really interested in meteorology and would like to be a weather person. And I have a friend who's a politician now, but like a decade ago for our NBC affiliate here in Chicago, she was like the afternoon weather person. And one of the things that Melissa said holds her back with, you know, getting schooling or whatever to be a weather person is math. That she says math isn't one of her strong suits. And I'm like, preaching to the choir. I hear ya. So I talked to my friend about it a couple months ago. And she says things have really changed, that, you know, yes, there's math involved, but it's, you know, not like you think that you have to completely figure that stuff out. And so she gave me advice to pass on to Melissa on things to look into for going to schooling and such for it. And now when I was just there, Melissa was talking, because it's like, I don't go on a visit without her telling me about what this week's weather forecast is and where the low is and the pressure. And Melissa knows all of that stuff. And she will predict stuff in the weather. And so it dawned on me yesterday that I should reach out to my friend and go, hey, will you start writing to Melissa and talk to her about the weather? And so she's like, oh my God, I absolutely will. So I'm excited for her to start writing to Melissa, because I think it's something different for Melissa to, and like I said, this woman, she's now one of my local politicians here. So, you know, she knows she's not going to try and get anything out of Melissa or, you know, anything like that. Her interaction with Melissa will all be pure and genuine. So, and I'm not going to tell Melissa that this woman's going to write to her. I'm going to just let the letter come to her. So if any of you want to write to Melissa and talk to her about the weather, you know, and not one of those, oh, gee, nice weather we're having here. If you're like a weather geek, if you're a storm chaser, if you're, you know, interested in things like that, you know, talk to her about it. She says other things that she would love to do once she's free is she would like to groom dogs. She loves dogs. So she would like to groom dogs. And she would also like to cut people's hair. So she's got 3 things that she knows once she's free that she would like to do. She's not somebody that just wants to sit back and do nothing. She, holy cow, does not want to be famous. She doesn't want anybody to talk to her. She doesn't want any cameras on her. She doesn't want any of that. Nothing. She wants her privacy. She's actually pretty freaked out about when she is freed. That the attention that she'll get. She wants none of it. And this is how somebody should be. Okay, you ready? So you have the whole iPad thing at the prison. They said once upon a time that they were going to allow the inmates to buy these. I don't even know if they're iPads. They're probably just generic tablets. Like I call a tissue a Kleenex, regardless of what brand it is, you know. So somebody donated her. The tablet is it's like $200 and after every, because I think the tablet's like $200, but then there's some bump up on it or whatever. So bottom line, it's like $215, $220. She would be able to use that tablet to like do her emails in her cell, her video visits, listen to music, because fighting happens when you try to go to the kiosks to do those things, arguments of who gets it and blah, blah. She would rather just sit in her cell and have the iPad. But then when our last shitty governor was leaving office, one of his last things was he took away the opportunity for this prison to get the tablets. And so then it said it was being worked on. Some supporter, this is a supporter who, Melissa really likes this woman. I believe she lives in California. And she writes to Melissa regularly and sends her cards with stuff that the woman has drawn, because Melissa is an artist too. She draws really well. And so this woman will send Melissa cards of stuff that she's drawn. And Melissa really looks forward to her correspondence with this woman. Well, I had posted back then that, she was eligible to get this tablet and it's going to cost this much. Well, that woman right away donated that amount. And then they took away the opportunity to get the tablets. So then Melissa said she would just let the money sit. So when tablets come back around. But then I'm not sure if something now has happened with that money. And I said to her, do you want me to put out to people to donate the, $220? We're looking to raise $220 so you can buy a tablet, that they would just put directly in her commissary. And she said, no, it's fine right now. Don't worry. So if this was the Avery clan, it would be right away, hey, yeah, send us this money. Melissa, Marni, Kent is the worst of them all. Kent doesn't okay, when you email with an inmate, you have to buy credits through the correction system. So each email I send is 1 credit, but I can also attach a credit to my email that they can then email me back on my dime. Now they have their own, commissary, so they can buy their own emails, but I'm always just like, I'm going to pay for the email. They shouldn't have to pay for it out of their money, right? I'll just pay for it. Or, and so the most you can buy are 20 credits. So that's 20 messages for $4. It's cheap, and I can, when I get those 20, I can say I'm keeping 10 and I'll just transfer 10 to Melissa to use however she wants. But just the way I've always worked it is I send you an email, I'll attach a credit. You can use it to email me back, or she can use it to email somebody else. Sorry, my throat was scratchy there. I don't care. Kent recently, when I was on the phone with him, because what Kent does, Kent Pellegrini, another case that I advocate for, is I am his liaison to his attorney. He is also represented by Kathleen Zellner, but Kathleen doesn't try his case. Her partner, Doug, does. And the way the phone system is set up at the office, sorry, my throat is jacked up, is you call and you get a recording that says, hit 1 for Kathleen Zellner, hit 2 for Doug, hit 3 for the office manager, Scott. Well, an inmate can't do that. Inmate can dial the number and then you can't hit anything after that. So Kent will either call me or email me when he wants me to relay a message onto his attorney. So if he emails me and I email back, I'll attach the credit. So just like last week or the week before on the phone, he says, you don't have to attach a credit. I can pay for that myself. That's Kent. He's not making any money. He's been in prison for 3 years, right? I think he's been in prison for 3 years now. He's paying $6,000 a month in child support while in prison. No income coming in. It's coming out of his 401k, sucking him dry. Let me jump to Kent. Now, there is a Facebook group for Kent that is called Justice, the number 4 Kent. Let me click on that and get the link and post that in here. I am the admin for Justice for Kent. I am actually the only one on Justice for Kent. So if you want to know things about Kent's case, you can go in here to Justice for Kent. There's also how you can write to him, because, you know, Kent's happy to get your letters too. So the thing that we just posted is I was down in Springfield when Kent's sister messaged me and the ruling came in on Kent's case. And so Lynette says to me, "This doesn't look good. Can you read it and tell me what it says?" Not that I'm basically a lawyer. So I was at an event and I told Lynette, I can't read it right now. I'll read it when I get to my hotel. And so when you read it, it's, yeah, they flat out denied Kent. And so this was on the 13th. Yeah, I see I posted it 11:25 p.m. And the ruling actually had come out the day before. Lynette had just gotten it. So it's tough. And Kent, like Melissa, like Marni, you need something to hold on to keep your sanity and keep you going. And so in Kent's case, when his defense is so strong, you think, this is it. I'm going to be out soon. I'm going to be out of here by the end of the year. I can do this. And now for Kent, because Kent's only got 3 years left of his sentence. And with how long our process takes, now there's a good chance he's going to have to finish out his sentence. That our justice will not work, our justice system will not work fast enough to get him out early for being convicted of a crime he didn't do. And so Kent now has to go through the stages of grief and turn his focus from, oh, the ruling's going to come and I'm going to get out, to how do I survive being in here another 3 years? Kent is trying to look to the positive and go, he's been in a bad prison. He was in a prison that while he was sleeping, gang kicked the shit out of him, and he's losing his eyesight in one of his eyes. He doesn't have that to worry about in the prison he's in now. He's pretty happy there. It is what Kent always refers to as a cupcake prison. And you can only get there, be in that prison if you behave. If you do the slightest thing, they're going to ship you out. So, it's pretty tough. So I got the message from an email from Kent this morning that he wanted me to reach out to Doug. And so I messaged Doug this morning, and he emailed me back within 10 minutes and told me that he does have a lawyer call scheduled with Kent for early next week. So then Kent was told that, okay, you'll hear from Doug. So that's at least something for him, you know, that he knows he's going to be hearing from his lawyer. Just, I cannot imagine that roller coaster that wrongfully accused have to be on. And for Kent, he's got 3 years left. Melissa and Marni got long times to go. So both of them are like, I can't, and Melissa and Marni have both been in there for 10 years, and they're both like, I need to get out of here. And plus they're saying that prison is just getting worse, and they want out. So it's heartbreaking. Let me get for you the Melissa group, or Melissa page. Is it the page that stuff happens more on? I think it's a page, not the group. So I am a moderator on Melissa's page, but her Aunt Helen is the one. I don't do anything on this page. I basically only was added because Paul wanted to do Facebook Lives, and it was the easy way for me to film it, so it went directly on the Melissa page, using my phone. This is Helen's sandbox, so I don't do anything there. I did recently. Did I? No, I didn't kick Sandy out. I forgot about that. Because, oh wait, no, that's the page, not the group. I got to go to the group. Sorry, hold on. It's the group. No, it won't let me go. Get out of here. Oh, wait, that's why. All right, here's the group. Sorry, I put the page. Here's the group. And so when Sandra made that post about me, and we posted it in here, Paul Kaluzinski is in gossip all the time. He watches these lives, all that. And so he saw the post about Sandy, and that pissed him off. And I said, she's in Melissa's group, don't you? And he's like, she is. And he says he was going to find her and kick her out. And I don't know if he did. Nope, she's still there. Bye, Sandy. I'm kicking you out. Ooh, and she's still in, because when you go to remove somebody from a group, if you're not a moderator and don't know, you have all these different options. And so it'll also say, apply these changes to other groups you manage or moderate. She's in Stephen Avery Project. I didn't realize Sandy was still weaseling in Stephen Avery Project. So, bye. But Helen keeps this updated, so you can get all the information there. Yep. Bye, Sandy. Wait, I don't think I clicked to remove her at Stephen Avery Project. Now I'll need to do that too, because fuck her. Get out of my plane. Why won't it? It won't click to go to home to get me out of here. Let me scroll from your stuff that I can see. Oh, now that froze. So I have to go back into Facebook on that page. I don't know why. When you do a live, if you've never been on here before, since I've been yammering now for 49 minutes, all the questions and comments scroll up, and now I can't get them. So don't think I'm ignoring you. It may have been asked early and I didn't see it. I also do not read anything when it says it's replying to. I just skip that because I assume you guys are talking amongst yourselves and it's none of my business. All right, let me scroll down. Maz says, will this work outside USA? If you're talking about the Citizen Investigators Group, yes. Miley says, worth every penny. Elizabeth says, for CI group, do you have to be able to dedicate a lot of time to it, or can I join and just go on whenever I'm able? Sometimes my kids take 24/7 one-on-one attention. I'd like to join as I'm very interested in Marnie's case, but may not always have a lot of time. Oh yeah, it's come and go. Oh, and now Christy's telling me she got most of your questions. So I guess I'll scroll down to the bottom. But Elizabeth, yeah, it's while you're charged $10, this is you go on there whenever you feel like it. Let me just scroll down to the bottom. Hopefully it lets me and it's not frozen over here. Okay. How old is Melissa and Marni? Gosh, I'm bad with numbers. I want to say Melissa is like early 30s. And Marni is early 50s. Christy tells me she got all of your questions except, are Marni and Melissa friends? No, they are not. It's not a like we hate you type of thing. They're at different places and their schedules don't like mesh, and both of them stay pretty much to their own areas, you know. So Melissa works for the dietitian, you know, so she's like doing the food menus and schedules, and so she walks around everywhere dropping off the food menus and all that kind of stuff. And then Marnie's a teacher, you know, so she's doing the teaching thing. And then Marni works at night in the laundry. So they're not friends. They know who each other are, and they were both in county jail at the same time, but they didn't associate there either. But yeah, both their cases are from around the same time, from the same county. They're both Lake County in Illinois. Oh, and there's Christy saying it in here too, not just in the thing. So I think I got through the Marni and Melissa stuff. There's also on the Marni thing, there's this book that's for sale. Turn. I really need to figure out how I can work the lighting in here when I'm here. It's called My Mom Marni. And so it's written by her 3 children. She's got a set of twins and then a younger boy. And they were all manipulated by law enforcement. So I know I've had somebody before that complained about the book, that it's not telling Marnie's story. It's not pretending to tell Marnie's case. Marnie's case can't come out until there's a filing. There is a book in the works on Marni, but nothing can come out until Marnie's case has been filed. So, but this is the kid's story, and it's not a long book. I read it in maybe like an hour and a half. It's 100 pages, and then there's a whole bunch of family photos and stuff. So, oh, and I got it wet. My tea was sitting on the table, and my tea is sweating, and the book got wet. Damn it. And so the profit from this book goes to the kids. It's going to help. I mean, and they're adults now. They're in their 20s. But their mom was taken from them when they were 16 and 12. You know, so the kids could use some financial support. But they're not asking you to just give them money. You're getting a book for the money that you're donating. It's not a book that you have to magnet to your car and drive around with it and video it that you drove around with this book on your car. Just a book for you to read. that's giving you information on the case from the kid's perspective. That's all. It's not an expensive book. How much is the book? Let me go back to buy book. How much is the book? God, my computer is slow. $15.99. I'm going to assume it's also shipping. And then, okay, and I see there's other books down here. So Tammy from Justice Review and Citizen Investigators, the WMP stands for Words Matter Publishing. Tammy started her own publishing house. So a lot of the books, she has books from other people that have experienced injustices. And so these are their stories. So when you buy books from Words Matter Publishing, you are literally helping the author that did the book. You know, there's no middleman and all that stuff. These people are, you know, selling their book and getting the money for it. So if you like to read, you can purchase those books. And I started writing a book, and we'll see what happens with that. Actually, Tammy hasn't gotten back to me on that, because the book I started writing, I don't know how many pages I have of that. Let me see if I can pull up my book. Come on. Oops. Let's go. All right. Trying to pull up my book over on, and it's popping it up over here where you all are. I just want to see how many pages it is. Nope, it went over here. It is, I have 56 pages done, and it is 23,205 words of what I've written so far. But then I have another thing that I've written before that I think, whoops, I'm opening the same damn thing again. And I sent that to Tammy as well to read. And that is only 8 pages and 1,761 words. But I would be combining this in with the other one. All right, let me get that all closed up. So, but I'm doing so much stuff that I really, because when I sent it to Tammy too, I'm like, I haven't written anything in this book since March. And I wasn't going to read through it to see where it was or what it is. I just forwarded it to her to have her read and see if this is something that she thinks would be an actual book. Let me scroll. Laura says, I just find it so scary that there's so many people in prison who shouldn't be there. That's why I'm now against the death penalty. And I never used to be, because how can we be so sure? I mean, yeah, there's going to be cases that you do know flat out this person is guilty. But, it's a tough one. Maz says, that explains why Marni can't teach Melissa math then. And when you said Marni taught math, English, but Melissa wanted to learn math, I got confused. Yeah, they're on completely different schedules. Oh, Elizabeth, so you read the book. Good. Yeah, that's another thing that I'm bummed about, that I was down in Springfield, so I couldn't go to that meeting, because I've only met Marni's daughter, Emily. I haven't met her 2 sons, and they were all going to be there at that meeting. Claire says, so her case hasn't gone to court yet. Well, she's been convicted. She's been in prison for 10 years. She's trying to get a new trial based on new evidence that proves that she's innocent. So, but she had ineffective assistance of counsel her first time around, where she was advised to not tell her side of the story. So she's been in there for 10 years and people just thinking these horrible things. Laura says, do Marni and Melissa get many visitors? No. But that's by choice. So Melissa's parents go to see her, if they can, twice a month. But Melissa's mom works during the week, so they would only be able to go on a weekend. And you're only allowed X amount of weekend visits a month. And then there's the cost, because her parents hurt for money. So her parents go and I go. That's basically it that visits Melissa. That's it. Marni has her dad and her kids and some friends. But for the most part, because Marni is so secure in who she is, and she's like, I don't care. Kent doesn't have a whole lot of people visit him either, because he doesn't want visitors. He doesn't want to be a burden on anybody. So, yeah, they don't get a whole lot of visits. Miley says, your tea is sweating. I'm sweating. Everyone is sweating. It's hot. Yeah, it's hot here because it was cool yesterday and Jeff turned the air conditioning off, and then I haven't turned it back on. So now I'm dying here. Christy says, will someone send me half naked pictures after I order it? Let's see. Are there any baby pictures of, your typical baby in a bathtub thing? Look at, oh my God, her son's got a mullet. Wee young little lad. Oh, their puppy. Nope. Sorry, Christy. Ian says, bet the book costs less than $70, more like $15.99. Yeah, imagine that. Maz says, hot, where are you? It's been pouring down here in UK again today, LOL. Well, I'm in Chicago suburb. And yeah, don't talk to Christy about heat, because she'll beat you all. Shelly says, I watched about Marni on YouTube, but that's it. I never got much into the case, which I understand, because I've said that if I only knew by what I'm able to find out there, I absolutely would not follow it at all, because she's guilty. But the thing I always say to y'all is people probably thought the same about Stephen, that it was case closed. Chantal says, I'm very interested in Marni's case and possibly interested in joining the investigation group, but I feel skeptical as she was taped by her friend admitting to the crime. I know people give false confessions, but why would she do that if she wasn't under duress from police at the time? I wish Tammy was on here with me, because Tammy's the boss. And so Tammy can really weed through what can be said and what can't. I'm not sure what I can say. I have talked to Marni about it. Marni said to me on one of our earliest visits, ask me anything. And I told her the thing that shows your guilt is that tape. And then she explained to me what actually happened there. And then I know some other things. So all is not how it seems. So, and Chantel, you can get somewhat of an understanding on that from this book. There's something in here that also goes to explain what happened with that. And don't even get me started on the chick friend. She should be in the Truth Wins group. She is a crazy nut job. Also, what you don't know is what did the police do to her to get her to do this. So there's a lot underneath it. But I'm glad you're skeptical, because you should be, because the stuff that's out there says this. So I would rather have you, when this evidence comes out, for you then to tell me whether or not you think this, changes things or not. I want the devil's advocate. I want you guys telling me, no, sorry, this doesn't wash. This, that's what we want from you. That's what the Citizens Investigators group will be. So like, if you post in there that, I'm sorry, if you post the exact thing you just posted here, Chantel, in Citizens Investigator group, you're not made a pariah. You're not going to be kicked out. We want to talk to you about it. We want to know why you think the way you do and understand it. So, but I get it, because I have the same concern. And I asked Marni. Shelly says, as far as Melissa, I haven't followed it much lately. Melissa is still waiting on, because Kathleen filed a writ of habeas corpus. So in a writ, Melissa is actually the plaintiff and her warden is the defendant. And the state keeps getting continuances. So we don't know at this point when we're going to hear something. It's just more waiting on poor Melissa. Shelly says, back to Marni. She confessed to her friend. She said things that you might think is a confession. Stay tuned. One more month. Maz says, how many states do the death penalty? I don't know. Jane says the death penalty is barbaric. Oh, thank you. Ian says 29 states. Wow. Elizabeth says, I read today that someone was executed by electrocution recently. I thought it was only injection now. Apologies if this is wrong. The article disappeared when I'd only started reading. I don't know, Elizabeth, because didn't it used to be like you had your choice? If you had lethal injection, electrocution, and don't you still have the option, if you want, of a firing squad? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Claire says, where can I read about Kent? I know nothing of his case. Well, the bulk of what you could read about Kent is in that Facebook group that I posted, the Justice Number 4 Kent. And this is why Kent always wants me to use the hashtag just wants to be heard, because nobody hears about Kent. His case isn't, there's so many people out there. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. They just want to hear about murder cases. And he's in prison because his wife accused him of sexual assault. And his wife was a pretty nasty bitch, a nasty drunk. She did this same scenario to the guy she was married to before him. Kent is, if you go to his page and you look at his picture, he looks like your blue collar, or actually blue collar up, going up more white collar, jock guy, clean cut, your average American looking guy. Not a guy that if you see him, you think this is a guy who's going to be in prison. He had a very good job, made a lot of money. This wife, I believe, premeditated this incident so she could get rid of Kent and keep everything. He was instantly locked out of everything, their accounts, all that. And like I said, he pays $6,000 a month in child support. For the last 3 years, he's been in prison. $6,000 a month. There's no money coming in. He didn't own a business. So it's not like his business is still, he doesn't have a salvage yard that family is running for him and money is still coming in. So he's paying $6,000 a month in child support. Plus, he has the Kathleen Zellner office to represent him. He doesn't have her taking his case for free. He's paying her bill. So imagine what that's got to cost to pay out of your pocket. And he's not asking you for money. He gets bothered when I want to buy him stuff at the vending machine. So I thought it's so weird dealing with the whole Avery, that I advocate for these 3 other inmates and deal with their families, and nobody does anything remotely like what this Avery family does. I am treated with complete respect, love, treated like a family member. I do what I can to help them. So, and I guess I'm selfish because I feel good about myself that I'm able to do something good for somebody else. And I'm not making any money off of any of it. Now, I told you in a live recently that Marnie's dad sent me a check for $100 to go towards the gas and the food from visiting Marnie. Wasn't asked for. I told Marnie about it. She smiled, like your dad. They take my help and appreciate my help. Paul Kaluzinski, when there's something that happens in Chicago, Paul doesn't want to drive into Chicago. He doesn't want to find the parking spot and pay for parking and the tolls to get there. So I drive him to court. Nobody's given me money for that. The family, contacts me when they need something. I'm not doing I have to hang out with this family all the time so I can feel cool and important. They reach out to me when they want. Like Kent's sister, when she messaged me on Tuesday to send me the ruling in Kent's case and asking me to read it and to interpret it for her. And that's all. And the person, Kent had been dating a woman. That's how I actually got involved with Kent. This comes back to the Stephen Avery Project moderators, because they had also been working with her on Kent's case, talking with her because they're also very caring people and want to help other cases. And so since I'm in Illinois and this is an Illinois case, they had said to her, you should hook up with her and, she can help you. Yeah, you're right, Patty. So that's how I got involved. And so I would go to court. The thing I did when we went to court once for Kent, I made charm bracelets for all the women that were there that had Kent-centric stuff on them, and gave it to all the women to hold a good luck charm bracelet. And then I also brought rocks that had a stone or whatever that had an inspirational quote or word on it for them to hold. But then I also brought those stress balls, to sit there and squeeze, because I'm just doing what I can to try and make the family comfortable while sitting through there. I paid for all that stuff myself. But nobody paid for it. Didn't ask anybody for anything. And then eventually Kent and the girl parted ways. And she needed somebody to take over the Facebook page. And so, because she's the one that started it and all that. And the family, while on social media, they're not social media savvy or want to be on here 24/7 and wanted to do it. So then it was suggested I take it over. And so I've been running it ever since. I don't know how long I've been running it. Doesn't matter. So, and then when Kent calls me, he will tell me during the call, hey, can you put out this message to my supporters? Like wish everybody a happy Father's Day, insert holiday here, let people know I'm doing okay. Things like that. So I just try to help, but apparently to some people, my help isn't wanted. Heidi says it's in the book because they threatened her if she didn't confess, they would go after her son. You said it, I didn't. Elizabeth says, I feel Marnie's confession was her way of saving her son. Dondi said, I would do anything for my son. Heidi says, oh shit, Peter Fonda died. Oh. Maz said, so what made you change your mind about Marni? What did you read that made you dig deeper? How do you go about making friends to visiting people in prison? Just curious, as you visit so many people and you do a great job. Well, whoa. So how this, I guess everything comes down to the moderators from Stephen Avery Project, because the moderators here are the ones that suggested to Curtis that I take it over when he was leaving. They're the ones that then put me in contact with Emily since I was local. And then when I attended a hearing with Emily for Kent, Paul Kaluzinski attended that hearing. And so I met Paul for the first time and then started talking with Paul. And then Tammy from WMP Words Matter Publishing was inquiring about maybe doing a book on Melissa, and so had scheduled a meeting with Paul to talk about it. Paul asked me to attend the meeting. So I went to the meeting, and Tammy had brought Marnie's dad, Larry. And so I met Tammy and Larry for the first time and talked to them. And then Tammy had asked me to come on board the team of the WMP Justice Review. So here, let me, Justice Review. So here's the Justice Review website. So then you can click on up here, the WMP team. And so that lists all the different people that are her expert team. Where, yeah, there's Marnie's dad, Larry. So there's all these quite impressive people until you get to the very last one, which is me, that they have me listed as social media director, even though Tammy's the one that is doing everything on social media. She tells me I could like share Stephen Avery stuff on there, but I've just left everything to her. But she and I had talked together about the idea of the criminal investigators. Because I really went off of, Carol Ann Fitzgerald is the model for that. And just, you never know what fresh eyes can find on a case. So the CIs now is all about that. And so, yeah, so Jed Stone, who's her lawyer. Oh. Yep. Okay. So, and then WMP cases. Right now, Marni is the only case she has listed on there. But she does have other cases she's working on. She just doesn't have them on there. She also has a crowdfunding tab on here. So it's raised a total of $20. Tammy's like, she just doesn't know how to, get people to donate towards this justice review team. So that's also the point of the CIs, is you pay $10 to join that, and that $10 will now pay for those experts who will tear apart cases and help people that can't afford to have these kinds of experts. Dondi says, I'm sorry, I would not want to be electrocuted. Yeah. Kitty says, if you Google Kent Pellegrini, things come up too. The Innocence Chronicles has an article, I believe. But does everything just basically say he's guilty, though? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've Googled Kent to see what kind of stuff is out there. Scott says, hello, nice to see you again. Love the updates. Good job, Jax. Wish your justice system was more like ours. They'd be out by now. I know. Ugh. Christina says, well, you aren't the only one who has trouble with numbers, Jax. I misjudged the timing on this live by an hour. Yeah. Lucky for me, I'm the one that sets it and say it's in my time zone. Otherwise, I, like you guys, especially the ones that live completely around the world, and it's, our day is your night. I would never be able to figure out what the time difference was. Dondi says, wow, I didn't know Catherine took cases that aren't pro bono. Melissa's case, and Kathleen is Melissa's attorney, is not pro bono. That's being paid for. So, and it actually makes me, is mad the right word? And you tell me if I come off as an asshole for this. But I would like to see her tweet about these 3 other cases to bring attention to them and get people to be interested in them. And she doesn't. She only talks about Stephen's case. Stephen case, the pro bono case. Why don't you talk about the cases that are paying you that helps you able to do Stephen's case pro bono? So, I'm happy she brings attention to Stephen's case. Don't get me wrong. And her tweets are fabulous. I love how catty she can be. Or, see, I don't believe Kathleen even makes those tweets. I think, she's got a social media team that makes her post for her. I truly don't think Kathleen is, typing this stuff up. Maybe she tells, she's got a part in what it says and tells somebody, here, put this out there. But I don't think she's the one that's actually doing them. But I think it would be easier for me as well then to talk about these cases on Stephen Avery Project if Kathleen mentioned them. because then the people wouldn't beat me up on there going, what does this have to do with Stephen? Well, it's one of Kathleen's other cases. Aren't you interested? Nothing's happening with Stephen right now. Can't you hear that Kent's case was denied today? Don't you want to talk about that? Wouldn't that be something to talk about instead of nothing? Claire says, oh my God, poor Kent. Just goes to show just how twisted the Averys actually are. Jesus. Kitty says, as well, if you visit Kathleen Zellner's law office website, there is information on some of the cases she's working on. Correct. She does have a page for Melissa and Kent. So you can click on there. So on her page for Melissa, she does have, like, Melissa's case was featured on 48 Hours twice. So the link is there for you to watch both of those episodes. The last hearing Melissa had, it is the first time in that court that they allow cameras in the courtroom. So the link is there where you can watch the entire hearing. So, and then various news articles and everything on Melissa's case. So you can find that on, let's see, let me, Kathleen Zellner. Cases. There. Here's where you can find her cases, past and present. So you'll see as I scroll down, highly publicized active cases, Stephen Avery. Mario Casaro, he's also a Lake County case, I believe, and he has visited Melissa. I don't know Ray Spencer. Well, I'm sure if I clicked on him, I might hear. Ryan Ferguson, that's the big dream catcher one. Ryan Ferguson is on Melissa's list and has visited her once or maybe twice. Oh, she does not have Kent on there. Okay. And then highly publicized closed cases. So you can go there and go read what she's got about Melissa. Tina says, we'll be sure to listen later. Thank you for all you guys do. Thank you, Tina. Kitty says, not all of the stuff is bad about Kent. That's good. Maz says, I didn't realize that. I thought Melissa was pro bono too. Nope. Dondi says, I agree. I would like to see her tweet about other cases. Shouldn't we all care about other cases? You know, so look at the attention she could bring to just wrongful convictions in general if she just, you know. Claire says, is it because his case is so high profile? Yeah, I don't know. Kitty says, I think it's because most of the Twitter followers tweet her about the Avery case. Right. Ian says, is Stephen's case through that brought Zellner into, is Stephen's case, though, that brought Zellner into the limelight? I agree she needs to tweet about other cases, though, especially while she is in the limelight. She's had some limelight, but a lot of it is here in Illinois. Yeah, because a lot of these cases on here are cases here in Illinois. So Stephen's case, yes, by far has given her the biggest plateau of her career. Maz says, is it because he is not paying her that he gets the most publicity, so it gets her recognized and people then donate to her? Yeah, you know, people have to be donating to her, but I have no concept of how much that is, because the only thing we ever see is the money grubbing family trying to take all the money. Julie says, I thought Melissa was due to have her hearing this month. The early August hearing was postponed to later August. Did that get pushed back to indefinite? I think it was a misunderstanding. I think somebody thought there was a date set for the 28th, but there's not. There is no known date now for Melissa. Christina says, Melissa's case just infuriates me. When people who originally testified to a skull fracture now admit they were wrong, that should be an immediate new trial in the world of common sense. Yeah, and not only did they do that to Melissa, but the coroner that changed the cause of death on Ben's death certificate from murder to undetermined, Lake County then went after him, because to be a coroner here, you have to run for office and are elected. And the way our elections work is, if you want to run for office, like September is known as petition season. So it's like September 4th, I think, is when petitions are going to kick off. So if you are running for an elected position, you have to have your petition signed by X amount of people who is a registered voter for that area that have to sign this petition. And then all the signatures need to be, losing my words, notarized. Well, all politicians use us grassroots groups to go boots on the ground and go door to door and get these signatures for you. A lot of, you'll have the good candidates. I have some very good candidates who, oh my God, they go door to door every single day. And when they're done with their district, they start all over again and go to people's doors again to go talk to them. Hi, I'm either your elected blah, 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 or I would like to run to be your elected blah, blah, blah. They work it hard. And depending on the position, you need, the amount of signatures is different. It varies. And then, we've got the two-party system, and your opposition is going to challenge your petition and say that's not a real signature. Or they'll challenge you that the candidate was not there when it was notarized. It's stupid, technical bullshit. And so when Dr. Rudd was running for re-election for coroner, they went after him on his petition and they prosecuted him for that. That doesn't get done. It doesn't happen. But they made a point of going after Dr. Rudd because he outed them for doctoring Ben's autopsy and x-ray. So because of that, Dr. Rudd now is no longer the coroner and cannot run for office. So I did attend a couple months ago with Paul. Dr. Rudd is filing for clemency. He wants our governor to pardon him so he can run for coroner. And so we're waiting to hear a decision on that still. But yeah, it is infuriating, Christina. Laura says, are there any other people you advocate for that we might not have heard of? No, these are the only cases I work on. It's a handful as it is for these. And I do a whole lot of activism that I try not to go into here because politics is a dirty business. And I realize there's probably many of you here that are not on the same side that I am politically. And I don't want to make this page political. I don't want to fight with you guys over how I view the issues. And I don't want to hear about you, what your views are on the issues if you oppose mine. I don't want to get into it with you here. I have my own activist group, Facebook page and group and all this stuff, and I do my fighting there politically. I don't want to bring it to here. So the only other people now that I would be advocating for will be the ones that Tammy officially brings into the Justice Review team, since I'm part of that team. So, and I'm just the one that if they need me for something, tell me what you need me to do. I think, and Tammy was talking to me that another case that she wants to take, the inmate is in the prison that Marni and Melissa are into. So she asked me if I would maybe go on that person's list and start visiting them as well. Because if nothing else, if all I'm doing is going and visiting these people, and sitting with them for a few hours and buying them some food out of the vending machine and chatting with them about stuff, and especially now when their prison's not air conditioned, but the visiting room is, and so it gets them into air conditioning for a day. I'm happy to make that my part, being part of the team. Maz said, I think I remember you and Paul telling us about Rudd in a live you both did. Yeah. And we're supposed to be doing a live with Dr. Rudd. And I think I've even talked to Rudd about doing a live on Stephen Avery Project, because that would give Rudd a lot of exposure, and it could reach the most people. And I thought people who were interested in wrongful convictions might want to hear from a coroner on autopsies and all that kind of stuff. So he wouldn't just be talking about Melissa's case. He would just be talking about being a coroner. And I thought some people might be fascinated about that. But then again, people might do that. What does this have to do with Stephen? So I think that's why I haven't really jumped on it. And I could do it in gossip. It's not, we've got a decent amount of people in gossip too, but that doesn't get as wide of an audience. No offense against you all. We love y'all here. But you know what I'm saying? If it's about getting out the message, Stephen Avery Project is the place to do it, because that has the widest reach. So, all right. I've been through Marni and Melissa and all your questions. I will stay on for another 20 minutes until we hit 7 o'clock here my time, or 25 minutes. Don't make me do math. Whatever it is. Shut up. Don't be making fun of my math skills. And now we can dive back into Stephen. And, so we'll end on everything that's been going on. So, wait, one more post on here. Genuinely, though, how do you afford to drive hours and visit these people? I mean, I work full-time here in England, and I couldn't afford that much extra money. No, people moan about you, but you must have a big heart to do this. Well, here's the honest tea on me. I got married in 1992. My husband and I separated in 2013 or 2014. Numbers, I don't know. It's been like 6 years, right? 6 years or so. We are not divorced. We are not legally separated. We have just gone our separate ways. My husband lives in the house that we bought 20 years ago, 21 years ago. He's got a good job. So he gives me, until we get really divorced, I'm living on $231 a week. That's what my husband gives me. And there's nothing I can do to fight it, because I have no money to pay for a lawyer to divorce him, to then get my half of our house and to get my half of his, whatchamacallit, from his union. That is half mine. I live with Jeff, my boyfriend, so I am not paying rent and utilities and that kind of stuff. My car is a 2009 and paid off, so I do not have car payments. So my $231 a week pays for the gas in my car, the food that I eat, my personal items, so if I'm buying shampoo or laundry detergent, any of that kind of stuff. So I'm living on $231 a week. But like I said, rent isn't coming out of that. So I don't have money. When I was married to my husband, or even when my husband and I were first separated, I was doing a lot better financially because my husband makes a lot of money. And my husband decided a year ago, maybe longer than a year ago, to empty out our joint account and take all of our money and open a new account that does not have my name on it, that I do not have access to. So all I can access is the $231 a week he direct deposits into, because he didn't close the account he emptied out. He emptied everything but $231 and then said, every Friday I'll give you $231. That's it. That's all you're getting from me. So also, again, in the meantime, he's living in our house, has his pension, because he's union, and he's in a good union. He makes a lot of money. And I'm just screwed over. Nothing I can do. Our son is soon to be 26, so we don't have a young child, so there's no child support type dealie or anything like that. So that's me. So I can't help the families as much as I used to. I was happy, I helped Paul out a couple times with things. I can't now. I don't have the money for that. Or there'd be times when I would go get Paul and then take him places. I can't because Paul lives about 45 minutes away from me. So like he wanted me to take him to Chicago for a thing. And I'm like, Paul, I can't. That makes no sense. Because he lives the complete opposite direction from Chicago than I do. I am in good traffic, only 30 minutes away from Chicago. And he's total opposite direction. So and in Illinois here, we've got tollway galore. So, yeah. So, and all my activism doesn't pay. But like I said, I don't know, is it a selfish thing? I feel good about helping people. I know I should be helping myself. But, and I worry about my future. But I'm happy to help others if I can. Ian says, I don't know if it's in Making a Murderer. Sandy and her cronies will repost it for you, some extra coverage. Hey, Tammy. Tammy is here. Did you come on here because I was talking about you? Were your ears burning, Tammy? Laura says, but you help with your time, and that's more important. Yes. So on to the magnets thing, as far as we can tell, we've been told that he was booted out of the one group. He was still in the family group last I saw. This guy is creepy as fuck. I've been sent multiple screenshots of questions that he sent to women that are totally inappropriate and sexual predatory style. That is so wrong. And you can all do your own homework and contact any printing company and see that 2 magnets are not going to cost you $70 freaking dollars. But the offer still stands. If you want to pay Jeff $70, he'll make you whatever magnets you want for $70, and he'll donate $40 to a cause. If you want to throw that $70 away for magnets, that is unbelievable that they were charging $70. And I think we did our everybody a service by, when we see he's grayed out and not there anymore. Where's my thank you, Sandra and Carol and Lisa and Carla, all y'all who wanted to jump on me for exposing this magnet guy. And now, see, who was right? Who was right? I was right. Not on the up and up. Buyer beware. I will always, always say, if you want to help Stephen or Brendan, donate directly to their commissaries. It is pinned in the announcements here on Gossip on how to do that. Stephen can pull money out of his commissary and send it to his mom. So you can take care of Dolores that way. You do not need to give money to some fake Dolores PayPal account for money to go to Dolores. And me saying this does not mean I'm against somebody helping Dolores. I am not talking shit about Dolores. Dolores is like the only person in that family that does not have a criminal record. So, Dolores loves Stephen. She's always had his back. The rest of the family only came around when making a murderer was, so they could cash in. So I will never, ever say anything bad about Dolores. We know now that they have lied to Stephen and told him that I did not support Dolores getting a washer and dryer, and that's why he removed me from his list. I never, ever said Dolores shouldn't get a washer and dryer. I just said the family shouldn't constantly be asking the supporters to pay for items for their family. Now, Stephen is all for the supporters buying the washer and dryer for his mother. I am not. If it's going through Carla or Chuck or Earl or Sandy or Carol or Shaz or any of them connected to that Truth Wins group. I'll organize it. Well, I see now. See, I'll take credit for this too. I truly believe that Carla wouldn't do even tiny little fraction of what she's done if there wasn't me out here gonna throw a holy fucking fit when money is raised to make sure Dolores gets something out of it. I still believe that Carla is taking some of it. Some of the gifts, some of the money, some of the cards. Dolores doesn't know all that came in. Oh, they can show you we've got receipts. We don't know all that you got. You're just showing us what you're saying you got. That it means nothing. But I'm forcing her to have to do something. Because if Dolores got nothing, she would have no way to defend herself. And she knows by using Dolores's name, that's where the greatest sympathy comes, is for Dolores. And how dare she not want Dolores to have such and such? Nope, I just don't want money going that way. And at this point, I also would tell you not to send money directly directly to Dolores, because somebody stole money out of Dolores's house, a family member. And Dolores is up there in age, and she may not be completely aware of things going on around her. So don't send the money there, because who says that so-and-so's not making sure they don't get the mail to bring to her, and then they go through it and take the stuff out. So don't send it to Dolores either. Send it to Stephen, and then Stephen can determine what goes to his mom. That's easy, right? What's wrong with me saying send money directly to Stephen? Why do there have to be all these different GoFundMes and have these accounts in different countries? Doesn't that sound weird? That supporters have to send money to Australia for Stephen, who's in prison in Wisconsin. No. Let me scroll. We got 10 minutes left. Laura says, but you help with your, oh, I read that already. Tammy says, no, I just got back from Chicago like 5 minutes ago. Oh, yeah. Tammy, we need to talk. I want to know about how things went for your trip up here. Ian says, I checked tonight and he is out of the official group. Ooh, all right. Julie says, oh boy, Mr. Hang Low Nips. Laura says, how dare you say donate to their commissaries, you thief, right? Kitty says, they should be more careful who they tie to Stephen and Brendan's names to. This case doesn't need any more negative drama surrounding it. Right. Well, and that's the thing that Sandy pointed out in her, Stephen says she's disrespectful because of this, that, she didn't support these things, and I don't support the rally. No, I don't. Because the rally's an embarrassment. It is. And they'll do just like they're talking about the magnets, because you didn't organize it. No, I could give a shit about organizing it. It looks horrible that Stephen's case is the biggest case to ever be, and you get 50 people at a rally, and half of them are family. That's embarrassing. And then you see the type of people that go to this rally, Mr. Hang Low Nips. Look at the people. They're nuts. It's a crazy bunch of people. Doesn't look good. When the Avery family is already looked down upon for their various troubles with the law and their lifestyle. So this weirdo driving around with these magnets on his car, where he makes the one so it's got part of his face on it, so it's like showing the bottom half of him, and then you see his head out the window. That's weird. You're a crazy person. And then using Netflix copyrighted material. Can't do that either. Can't do that. And this is an issue I had with, like, when we were planning the original Manitowoc rally that I organized. And I had all these conversations with the police department and everything, setting up all the rules for us to have a legal rally. And they just want to break all those rules. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it's like, no, you can't do that. I get you're mad at the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department for what they did, but there's still laws that you have to obey. So it's things like when you're doing a peaceful protest, you have to remain on public property. You cannot go on private property. You can be arrested for that. You cannot use sound amplification. And it was specifically written in the contract that I did for the permit for this event that there was to be no bullhorns and such. Nope, we're going to do it anyway. Were they arrested for breaking those? No, but you're being assholes and you're breaking the rules and you just look horrible. And so now when you see this guy that they've been arguing for and defending and pushing for, and you're seeing he's sending naked pictures to women, and saying creepy things, because he would then stalk their Facebook pages and then talk about how beautiful their daughters are and all. I mean, I've read some really crazy things this guy has sent out to women. And then you saw the messages he sent me where he threatened me twice. The one where he said, if I get anywhere near him, I'll see how crazy he can get. And the other one that said, this is my only warning. He will not warn me again. Those are threats. Now, I could give a shit. He doesn't scare me in the slightest. Bring it on. But those are threats. And people who aren't quite as bitchy as me, that would scare them. And that's not right to do. So even though it doesn't scare me, it's not, he shouldn't be able to talk to somebody like that. And then you have them all defending that behavior and saying, I'm just jealous because my friend didn't make them in his kitchen. Well, it's not my friend, it's my boyfriend. And he doesn't print in his kitchen. He's had a print shop for, he now said today, 34 years. So he has a professional print shop. And quite frankly, Jeff doesn't want the headache of doing any of this stuff because of what we went through when we made the Brendan and the Rally shirts on how they fucked him over on that. I've gone over that a million times, and I'm only going to be on for like 7 more minutes, so I'm not going to get into it now. But when they like to say, I took t-shirt money, Jeff is owed a lot of money for t-shirts, for banners, for signs, that he's never been, flyers, that he was never paid for. Everybody who paid us for a shirt got it. Got their shirt. The only people who did not had placed their order right at the time that Carla pulled her little stunt with me and locked me out of the rally that I was organizing, and then contacted my partner at Free Brendan to try and get him to turn against me. And that's when I said, fuck you. Anybody who has placed an order for a shirt that we have not made, the money has been given to Barb, and Barb, you need to refund them their money because I ain't doing another fucking thing. So, and then there's the time when after the rally, because see, I was friends with Barb after that initial rally. Because Barb and Carla hate each other. They'll just pretend to you guys now that they don't hate each other because it gets them more fans when they're together. So I walked into Barb's house and I handed her what money was owed in cash. And I joked with her saying, maybe I should wait until the cameras are rolling so people know I gave you this money. And then for years, I had to deal with people saying I stole that money, even though I fucking gave it to Barb. And then like last year, Barb one day out of the blue made a post saying, yes, I did give her the money. I have that screenshot saved somewhere. But then still to this day, they're saying I stole money. But then they'll switch it and they'll say, no, it was the rally shirts. You're grasping, people. Y'all got your frickin' shirts. And I see today, somebody sent me a screenshot of some chick saying something about me in the shirts and blah, blah, blah. So I showed the moderators. Here's the last time that girl had ever messaged me. And it was her sending some mean thing saying she loves me. And the moderators noticed it. Oh, look at the date. That's after the rally. So how come that girl was sending me things about, you know, that she loves me and blah, blah, blah after this rally if you're saying I stole money at that time? I'm yammering on. Julie says, people can send money directly to Dolores too if desired, but this magnet creep, GoFundMe accounts, and family begging for money is obscene. Elizabeth says, there's been no sign of Dolores getting her washer and dryer. Shown a screenshot today that Carla just posted today or yesterday claiming she bought her a washer dryer for, did it say it was like $1,200 or something like that? And she claims that they only raised 600 and something. And then she's like, but I put it on my credit card. And then there's people going, oh, I'll donate more money. And then you see people making posts like, sorry, I'm late with this month's payment, you know? And so it's like, people are literally paying Carla monthly. Or one of the moderators pointed out how sad it is when you see posts that say, I have to wait till my next paycheck before I can afford to pay you. What the actual fuck? These people don't need your money like that. You need your money. Don't give it to them. Sell your fucking homes and crivets. Sell your boats. Sell your jet skis. Sell your snowmobiles. Sell your guns. On and on and on. You have shit you could be doing without if you're that desperate and somebody needs to buy you a freaking washer and dryer. That you're going to ask somebody who's saying they have to wait until their next paycheck to give you some money. That upsets me. And then the family tries to make it out like you can't be a true supporter unless you give them money. Oh, and see it now because they'll watch this. Hi, all the haters that watch us. And so they're going to say, ooh, they made me so mad. You're not getting to me. It's when I talk about the stuff, I get animated. See, I can smile. I'm all fine. I just get over animated when I'm talking because that stuff's a bunch of bullshit. Tammy. Okay, Tammy, I'll call you when I'm done. I'm almost done because I say I'm getting off at 7 and it's 6:58. Kitty says, I agree. It's an embarrassment. People, Cindy, talking about Hang Low Nips. Julie says, we have been on Hang Low Nips Facebook page, giving him grief, telling him about copyright violations. Tammy, well, don't hold back, Jax. Tell us how you really feel. Tammy, so Tammy owns, we've talked about this before. Tammy bought a television network. Look at this entrepreneur woman right there. She's got a publishing house. She's got a justice team. And now she's got a television network. And so she wants me to have a show on her network. And I have to come up with a name for it, which I saw that Carla and her people were making fun of that. Ooh, they have some suggestions they could give me for my show. So Tammy came up with a name for my show, and I like it. And then when I visited Marni, I told her your idea, and she tweaked it. And so I have to tell you Marni's idea, Tammy, for the title. So remind me if I forget when I call you. Kitty says, it was supposedly Richard McAdams who spotted this guy driving around at the rally and went bonkers over it. He apparently has a hand in getting this guy and his magnets out there. Right, because he's also fleecing people for money from his YouTube thing. And so it's the idiot YouTube people that are affording him so he can go to Australia and he can go to Wisconsin and all that. And he'll say, oh, it's not about the money for me. But then you throw a fit when YouTube takes the ads off your videos. So which is it, dude? And Richard, don't forget, I know you. We were in messages before you thought you were Mr. Hotshit YouTube guy. I know you, dude. Julie says, sounds best if it's pronounced Hang Low Nips, but I like the hyphen. Laura says, honestly, love you, Jax. Love how you say it like it is. Makes my day when you go live. Well, thank you. Darla says, Car Magnet Man better use his 40% off Vistaprint to make more money today. Sorry, I had to put this here. Oh my God, that was so funny when Carol said that they went to the best of the best and then it's freaking Vistaprint. Because as I said in yesterday's thing, Vistaprint is the, McDonald's of restaurants. It's a fast food equivalent, and they produce garbage material. And again, not jealousy, because Jeff doesn't want the headache of making this stuff. I tell him all the time where, you know, because people will talk about they want this and that and the other. And I'm like, okay, how about we make Stephen Avery Project stickers? And we'll sell those. Because at this point, too, you know, since Stephen wants nothing to do with me again, if I were to do something, I'd be giving the money to Tammy for citizens investigators. I would be giving, well, Jeff would make a profit because Jeff has been doing this stuff all along with me and not making any money off of the stuff he's done. He's done everything at cost. So the people we are trying to raise money for would get the most amount, because it's really hard when you're making t-shirts and everything, that you have to bump the cost up to $25. So there's money after the cost that can actually go to the thing. And then there's people like $25 for a t-shirt. Well, yeah, you have to, increase the cost to make some money. So, we don't want the headache and the accusations. But Jeff says it's so funny because there are stories of like when people will go to a networking event, and, when you go to networking events, you're trading cards with people, and people will have the same exact card, because in Vistaprint, you'll like pick, it's like going to a tattoo shop and picking the flash on the wall. How many other people have that exact same tattoo? Because you just picked what's there. It's cookie cutter, go. And so the same, so he says there's stories of people going to exchange cards and they have the same exact design and colors and everything on there with this Vistaprint thing. And before I knew Jeff, I had made business cards for myself through Vistaprint. And because, again, it was cheap and I could afford it and, all that stuff. And I was going through old purses and wallets one day, years later, and found one of those cards in there. So then I like taunted him with it because it disgusts him. It repulses him on how low quality it is and blah, 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 because printing is like an art in its own. And, so he gets really bothered by some things. And so it'll drive him nuts when I show him, my crappy, cheapo Vistaprint business card from, what year was that even? 2000? Karen, does that mean we can't order anymore? The magnets? I have no idea what's happening with those. If you can still contact Droopy Tits, I don't know, what are you guys calling him? If you can still order them. Tammy says, Jeff does great work. Love that what he just did for WMP Justice Review. Thank you, Tammy. Oh, you're talking about t-shirts. Well, what t-shirts are you looking for, Karen? Because I've told people the other day, here was the advice I gave, is there are so many different things out there that you could just Google Avery salvage yard shirts. And there's people that are ripping that off and printing them. So I had said, if you wanted an Avery salvage shirt, go buy it from somebody, but not through the family. Don't give money to that fucking family. And then whatever you paid for that shirt, then send the equal amount to Stephen's commissary. And now you have an Avery salvage shirt that you can wear out because you want to support the case and you want to bring awareness to it. And your money is actually going to Stephen. My advice to you. Droopy did. All right. So I said I was going to end at 7. It's 7:05. So I'm going to go now. I've been on for 2 hours. So I'll leave you again. You guys ever have any questions about anything you're going to see them say about me? Let me know. I will answer it honestly. Oh, and let me leave you on this too. One more thing that I keep forgetting to say. When they want to slam me saying that I bought Stephen Avery Project from Curtis, and they think it's like a big booyah when they show the screenshot of when we were talking about paying Curtis for it. The only reason I didn't say initially when we took over Stephen Avery Project that I paid Curtis for it is because Curtis asked us not to, because he knew he'd be attacked for it. that he took money for, Stephen Avery Project. So I didn't say anything publicly about it. But then when Stephen called me after that, and because Curtis, I can't remember if Curtis went to see him one last time to tell him that he was out and he that I was taking over Stephen Avery Project, or if it was a letter. I can't remember what it was. So the first time Stephen talked to me after that, I told Stephen from the get-go that I paid for it, that I paid Curtis, because I felt Stephen should know that. So, and I do think at one point when Carla got Stephen mad at me, then Stephen told her that I had paid Curtis. And so they think it's this, waha, we've got you. But I only didn't say because Curtis didn't want it said. I could give a shit. I paid for it. Fight me. I don't care. I don't understand how that makes me bad that I paid money to continue the biggest Stephen Avery support page on Facebook going. How is that bad? How does that show I'm bad? Because I'm so famous? No, I'm attacked on the regular. You know, how many of you would want to deal with this stuff I've been going through for 4 years? But I'm still here. And Stephen's currently mad at me again. And I'm still here. Supporting his innocence. Telling you to give Stephen money to his commissary, but don't give it to that fucking family. So, all right, let me see if there's anything else before I really end it. All right, so thank you, everybody. I'm out. I will call Tammy. And if anything happens in any of those cases, or we hear anything from Magnet Man, we'll let you know. Have a good weekend, everyone.